I kind of want to compile a list of potential side hustles for Sketchnoters. There are two kind of categories of side hustles that I feel like are worth distinguishing between and coming up with distinct examples of each. On the one side, we can look at freelance sketchnoting opportunities. So freelance would be where you kind of provide a one-time service for someone else for like a specific amount of money. There have been a handful of folks inside of Verbal to Visual who have been dipping their toe into these freelance waters, often because like if you sketchnote regularly and if you share your sketchnotes with other people, kind of no matter where you're doing that sharing, eventually someone's going to ask like, ooh, how much would you charge to sketchnote my thing? Like it's almost an inevitability. I've heard of it happening so many times, and it's happened in my experience as well, that's the type of thing that can open up the door to some freelance opportunities. The other category that we'll look at is the creation of your own products that you sell. So with this one, rather than providing a service for someone else, you are creating your own product that you sell directly to customers. So what we'll do here with this sketchnote is list out a bunch of examples. On the freelance side, let's start there. One opportunity that might come up, kind of depending on who is familiar with your work, the style of it. You might come across the opportunity to provide some sketchnotes for a book that someone's writing. And maybe this is a traditionally published book. Maybe it's a friend or colleague or acquaintance that's kind of writing their own book that they're just publishing on their own to Amazon, and they like know you're this visual person and they want you to come in and add some sketch notes and diagrams to it. That is a opportunity for some freelance work. Maybe there's a podcast that you really like, and maybe the hosts and creators of that podcast would love to have you do some sketchnoted show notes to add wherever that podcast is published. Maybe create some visuals to help. I mean, kind of the cool thing with like adding this visual component to an audio media is that when the creators, the hosts are then kind of sharing that podcast, maybe with your sketch notes, they have these like strong visuals to pull people in and maybe to encourage folks to listen that might not otherwise because of that visual intrigue that you have created. Continuing through, let's see, we kind of we explored written media, or at least like the starting point of each of these. Written media with a book, audio media with a podcast, or you could go straight to video. Perhaps you've already taken the Verbal to Visual course, How to Make Sketchnote Videos. That's a service that you could provide for others. And there's kind of this category called explainer videos, if you want to see what those could look like, but don't let the results of a Google search of explainer videos, don't let those results like limit your concept of what a sketchnoting video could look like, because you'll probably see a lot of, I'm curious to see what would come up if you do a YouTube search for explainer videos or something like that. A couple more freelance gigs that you might seek out if you'd like to build your own side hustle as a sketchnoter. Maybe you could connect with a person who gives talks regularly, hosts workshops. What you could do for that person is help make their presentations more interesting, more impactful, more visual. You could focus on creating high impact visual presentations for others. So far, I've seen a lot of people who get into sketchnoting weave these skills into their own presentations that they're giving, like they weave it into their own work, which I encourage you to do whenever that feels, whenever you see that opportunity. And even like doing that for your own work, for your own presentations, you can kind of build up your visual presentation skills. But if you want to keep going in that direction or, start this side hustle, you could offer that as a service for someone else that gives talks regularly or any form of presentation. You could be their presentation guru of sorts. And somewhat related, thinking of events that occur right now. These events are likely occurring online. Eventually, we'll get back to more in-person events, but there will always be some some online events where one person or a group of people are sharing some ideas and other folks are taking in those ideas, engaging with them in different ways. And what you could do, this is kind of like the flip side of helping someone create a visual presentation. On the flip side, you could just show up live, maybe with some idea of the event topics. And you could be an event sketchnoter, where it's more about creating helpful visuals live in the moment. So I'd be curious to hear if any of those freelance opportunities sound intriguing to you, and maybe like identify, I'd love to hear like which of these options is the most appealing to you. I'll ask that question of the freelance options here, and then I'll ask it again of the products one. But all these, like, they have different dynamics to them, right? The event sketchnoter, it's a little bit like high pressure, this live situation. Some level of like extroversion might be helpful there. So if that's your thing, then, you know, you can go in that direction. If you enjoy reading and want to have more time to work with the ideas, something like sketchnoting books, go in that direction. Or if you really like making videos, go in that direction. So like all sorts of, you know, your personal preferences and work styles and interests, they can make their way into this process of maybe deciding which type of these freelance opportunities you might be open to. Next, let's look at some potential products. If you'd rather make your own products than like doing services for other people, let's see what that might look like. One thing you might create, especially thinking about like the expertise that you already have or the interests that you already have, maybe you could spend some time kind of like compiling this information that you have, sharing your perspective on a given topic to write some sort of a how-to guide that include lots of sketch notes. And maybe it's like fully sketchnoted how-to guide. Maybe it's just like a back and forth between written text, helpful visual, written text, helpful visual. Both of those formats, I think, work really well. To go kind of deeper in that direction, this next one here kind of has more time investment required. You might do a similar aggregation of your knowledge around a given topic and create an online course. One of the resources inside of Verbal to Visual is called Build an Online Course with Sketchnotes. If you haven't heard of that one, you might enjoy exploring it. I really like curriculum design and even like the process of like crafting educational experiences that hopefully are transformative. So that's a topic that I enjoy spending time thinking about. That's why I decided to build a resource that helps you to do something similar. Maybe instead of or before on your way to maybe creating a video-based online course, you could lower the pressure a little bit, focus on a single video at a time, maybe pick a topic that you want to explore. Maybe you start a Patreon supported YouTube channel. So I feel like it's kind of relevant and helpful to see that like any specific style of sketchnoting work that you want to do, you could either like use those skills in a freelance format to do this type of work for other people, or you could just create your own products with the exact same skills, essentially. So the explainer videos compared to like creating your own YouTube channel, that's kind of like either side of that coin. A couple more product examples here. If you kind of enjoy the more illustrative type of sketch notes, you might consider essentially turning your sketch notes into art and maybe sell some prints of your work. Something that I have a little bit of experience with. Actually, maybe I think it'll be fun when I'm done listing out all of the options here. I will describe like which of these I have done to share the personal experience. I'll try to do it quickly. Like that could be its own whole video, but I have personal experience with like almost all of these, just things that I have tried and experimented with over the years. And kind of within like a little bit within the same realm as maybe selling individual prints of sketchnote illustrations, you could also kind of gather together a set of sketch notes that you created over some period of time. Gather some of your favorite sketch notes, maybe add some commentary alongside those sketch notes and sell that as a sketchnote compilation. I think I've seen Ava Lotta Lamb has a handful of books that are like yearly collections of her sketch notes, which are really cool. I also think Tanmay Vora, who I had an interview with, and there's a YouTube video here on our channel with highlights from that conversation. He has also sold kind of digital versions of his sketchnotes. There's an opportunity there for that, because those sketchnotes, like they have value, and combining them in meaningful and helpful ways could be a way to create a product with your skills. So here we have got a no doubt incomprehensive list of potential freelance work you might take on as a sketchnoter and potential products you might create. Quick rundown of things that I have done. Sketchnotes for a book. I contributed some sketchnotes to Chris Guillebeau's book, Born for This. Visual presentations. I contributed some sketchnotes to a Creative Live course that Chris Guillebeau and Stephanie Zito gave on the topic of travel hacking. I did some podcast sketchnoting for the program On Being. I've done some event sketchnoting, kind of in the realm of graphic recording. So if you want to go in the event sketchnoter direction, and especially do it like large scale poster paper on the wall, definitely do some Googling around graphic recording, because there's like a well-established profession there. When I think of event sketchnoting, I think kind of more small scale, maybe suited well, especially with like online tools like this that I'm using. That could go well in that direction. I've also done a few explainer videos for a couple of random clients. I did a couple of videos for Burgerville 6 years ago, which is a kind of pretty awesome, like relatively, yeah, I guess they're fast food, but they're kind of high quality fast food here in, I think, just the Pacific Northwest. I've created how-to guides. The Verbal to Visual Notebook is maybe an example of that, like a PDF that I sell. I've created a handful of online courses. I have a YouTube channel, of course. This YouTube channel is not Patreon supported. At times I have experimented with different side projects. Probably the most recent was one that was called The Doug Neill Show, where I created that as a space to kind of share behind the scenes stories about building a sustainable creative career. That was mostly a podcast, had a video component for a little bit, and was Patreon supported. But it got to the point where doing that and Verbal to Visual was too much, so I stopped doing that side project and just focused on Verbal to Visual. At the very beginning of, maybe even before I started Verbal to Visual, I spent some time making prints. I had an Etsy shop and developed, half a dozen maybe different sketchnote style prints that I sold there. I have yet to do a sketchnote compilation. So that's kind of the only thing I haven't experimented with. So maybe that's one that I gotta try out, compiling some of my favorite sketchnotes in a book form. If you'd like to dive deeper into the world of sketchnoting, then come join Verbal to Visual. There you will find complete at your own pace online courses, weekly live workshops, and a global community of visual thinkers who are working to master this skill. You can learn more and sign up via the link below this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.